Babula and I are back with you to talk about the full moon in Aquarius and the next stage with this lunar cycle, amongst all the other stages and all the other cycles that are going on the planet at the moment. And Aquarius is really out there, isn't it? It's like everything's being, what can I say? Our freedom's being threatened, and Aquarius doesn't like that. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Indeed. So, even though we're in the month of Leo, with the sun in Leo, when we come to the full moon, when the sun's in Leo, the full moon itself is in Aquarius, opposite Leo. So what makes this full moon, which of course is exact on the 22nd, and we obviously record this, a couple of days before then.
Oh yeah, 22nd, yes.
On the 22nd, that's right. There's two main reasons why this particular full moon is particularly interesting. One of them is that it's the second full moon in Aquarius this year. So to explain why and how that can happen, and we did talk about that a bit last time, but not everybody might have heard that. So we have 12 calendar months in a year, and that's a man-made creation. That's a man-made design, because 12 months doesn't actually fit the natural cycle. That's why every month, some months have, 28 or 29 days, 30 days or 31 days, and then there's a leap year. All that's just designed to try and fit the natural cycles into this construct of 12 months, because there's actually 13 lunar months in a year, or moon cycles every year. So therefore, every year, 2 of those full moons are going to land in the same astrological sign. And that's exactly what's happening with this, because back on the 24th of July, we had the full moon in Aquarius, with the moon in Aquarius opposite the sun in Leo at 1 degree of those 2 signs. And now, on the 22nd, this full moon is at 29 degrees. So there are 30 degrees of distance in every sign. So 1 degree is right at the start of the sign. 29 degrees is right at the end. And so there we get these 2 full moons in the sign of Aquarius, which is so fitting for this year.
Isn't it though? Yeah.
So fitting. And then the other factor that's of particular interest to us is that, by the way, when you get the 2 full moons in the one sign, which will happen every year in different signs, that's what we call a blue moon. We're both wearing blue today in honor of Aquarius. but once in a blue moon is simply a term that means it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And there's no other great significance other than that, really. And but the other really interesting thing about this is that 29 degrees is a really potent degree. So if there's 30 degrees to every sign, 29 degrees is the final degree of every sign. And it's a very powerful degree. In astrology, it has its own special name. It's called the anaretic degree. And, for years I've read about this and known about this, but what I'm finding more and more from my own personal experience with working with clients and people, and just observing it myself, it's true that 29 degrees of every sign has an extra potency about it. We're at the last degree. It's like the last gasp. It has a sense of it that's like, okay, this is it. You've got to get this. You've got to get this, because this is the last opportunity before the sun moves into the next sign, or the planet, or whatever it is, moves in. This is it. And so when any planet's at 29 degrees of a sign, the slow moving planets can be a bit like Pluto, might be there for a year or 2. That's a whole other conversation, because that's going to happen in the next couple of years when Pluto will be at that last degree, and that's going to be huge. But this is the moon, and she moves quickly. So she moves through the degrees pretty quickly over a period of a couple of days. So the full moon is always high energy. It's in Aquarius, which is a high energy sign opposite the sun in Leo at 29 degrees of both those signs. And it's a blue moon. Yeah. It's the second of two. So that's like really, to me, really significant. And, you know.
No, that 29 degrees, you're getting like the full blast of that energy coming at you.
Exactly.
Kaboom.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Aquarius, like that lightning bolt. That
lightning bolt.
Energy.
Exactly.
There's a sense of like a rubber band expanding, and it's that kinetic energy that builds when just before the rubber band breaks. There's that sense of that at the moment that I'm picking up on.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, you know, it does break things, doesn't it?
That's right.
It's like, that's it.
That's it. And it just breaks, or it crashes, or something smashes.
Yeah.
But that's a great analogy. I love that, the rubber band. It really feels like that. Like the tension in the air is palpable, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
Things are heightened to, I mean, we thought, you know, I mean, it's been full on 18 months.
Yeah.
But you can feel it. Things are getting crazy.
Yeah. And it's that sense of all the issues around freedom.
That's right.
And attempts to suppress that freedom.
That's right.
And loss of democracy and all that on the world stage at the moment.
That's right. And on a daily basis, and it's just right in our face, isn't it? Day after day after day.
And actually, that's a point about this. Since the very beginning with the pandemic, the planets, as they're moving through, they're relentless. You get the little tiny breaks here and there, like you might get a month off where it's not so bad, but it's just like boom, 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 boom. And it's like dominoes going over.
Right.
Sometimes some of the dominoes might go over a bit slower, but it keeps on going and going.
That's right.
It's like these planets have got a job to do.
They do.
And they're getting on with it and they're doing it.
They absolutely are. And because we energetically resonate and are connected to them, because everything is that, you know, we're all experiencing this and feeling this and reacting and responding and processing, you know, as above, so below. I mean, it's absolutely true. So this will be a very high energy, strong full moon. The other thing about it, there is actually a third point to the significance of this full moon, and that is that the full moon at 29 degrees will be sitting very close to the planet Jupiter. I'm just checking the exact degree, which is at 26 to almost 27 degrees. So that's very close. So Jupiter, the biggest planet in our solar system, that has a huge energy and is fundamentally about truth, in the sign of Aquarius, retrograde currently on this full moon at 29 of Aquarius. So there's three really big key factors to this full moon. It's like, hang on and hang in there, folks, because, I mean, we can see it, can't we? There is so much going on. And if we want to talk about the current situation on planet Earth, as, you know, there are kind of two, I'm not quite sure what words to use, but there are kind of, I'll be very generic and basic here, two sides, isn't there? There's two sides. Yeah. And on both sides, just for want of a better way to describe it, I'm trying to be relatively neutral. You know, we're way past that.
Time to get controversial.
I know. Look, I know. Absolutely. But there are these two sides, and on both sides, so much is going on. So much is going on, and it's represented, of course, by the big, you know, Uranus square to Saturn that's going on this year. Those two forces are absolutely in this battle energy.
Yeah, and to give an example of that is like the COVID vax is a good example, because people have chosen that people have made their choices now.
They have.
They've made up their minds, you know,
yes.
both sides, either way. And it's like, yes, you have to have the vax. It's the right thing to do. Other people are saying, no, we don't trust that. Trust is an issue. And that's an issue for Jupiter too, isn't it?
That's right.
So it's about, I don't trust that. It hasn't had enough testing.
That's right. We haven't got all the information.
All that sort of stuff. So, but both sides feel that they know the truth.
That's right.
Right. And it's not equal either. Right. So,
Yes.
So there's this struggle for who's telling the truth.
That's
and
right.
what is that truth based on? And while there's a lot of censorship going on, it's all, there's struggle in that Aquarian energy, isn't there?
That's right. And just the very fact of censorship, apart from what side of the fence you sit on, the very fact of such extreme, outrageous, in-your-face censorship, and maybe some people aren't fully aware to the extent that that's actually happening, that is a massive red flag.
Yeah. So with Jupiter around, there's a sorting out process, I think, about having a close look at false truths, whatever they are, or real truths, and Aquarius is about awakening.
That's right.
To the reality of what is true.
That's right. And in Aquarius, it's a very dispassionate, detached, objective, clear view.
Yes.
It's not emotive in Aquarius.
Exactly.
It can get very emotive in Leo.
Yeah.
It's like, which is not a bad thing, it's passionate. But in Aquarius, it's very clear and cool.
It has a wide perspective too.
Very much.
And a very intellectualizing about it. So when you're dealing with facts,
that's right.
When you're dealing with data, put it that way.
That's right.
Intellect kicks in, and it's great time for Jupiter to be, in Aquarius.
That's right. It is.
Yeah.
It's actually perfect
to sort out that data.
That's right. And of course, the issue with data is that data, as we all know, easily is manipulated depending on which side of it. So I'm always very wary of any data.
Yes.
Now I've become, I see things, and whichever side of the fence I'm on, and I'm very clear about what side it is, I'm still wary about sharing data because I know how easy it is to manipulate and create false illusions with data. So but that's where we're at.
Well, that's the other issue is for the general public, I think, regardless of what choices you make in what areas of life, there's a general distrust of the information that the government's passing on.
That's right.
And you might be a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer, you might be a person who's for lockdowns or against lockdowns, whatever it is, but people are going, there's a sense of illogic in a lot of people, and because of that, there's a sense of nonsense in many ways, and people are have lost faith in what the government tells them.
Well, it feels like we're living in a Monty Python movie. It's just become absurd.
I know. So it's
I just shake my head. What?
So all that energy is playing itself out under these planetary influences that are shining lights on different things and activating and mobilizing.
And of course, at a full moon, what we're getting is the energy of that 4-week lunar cycle peaks. So that's why full moons are always such high energy. The moon is fully illuminated in the night sky, not just a part, the whole, and she's fully reflecting the light of the sun as they're opposite each other in the sky. And so everything, and as I'm sure I've said before, and this, and so many people know this, anyone who's ever worked in any kind of emergency services, hospitals, police force, anything like that, know that on a full moon, you make sure you've got plenty of staff on, because things just get very heightened. And so in the public arena, and for the people and the public, this Aquarius full moon at 29 degrees conjunct Jupiter, everything is extremely heightened. It's almost like an eclipse energy. It's so strong.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's
well,
it's a big one.
The other thing with the moon, and particularly the full moon, is we have to remind ourselves that it relates to the unconscious.
Yes.
In our unconscious are our fears.
Yes.
There's a lot of fear going on, and the energy that's going around at the moment is triggering people's inner fears.
Yes.
And you know, they either don't want to look at it, they want, actually most people, a lot of people, the majority, let's say the majority of people are saying, I don't want to look at that, put that over there, thank you.
Right.
You know, whereas Jupiter is saying, here it is, it's in your face, this is
right.
the reality, this is the truth. You know.
And Jupiter, because it's such a big energy, what Jupiter represents is the principle of expansion. So whenever Jupiter is strong and active, everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And that's why everything feels so heightened and almost extreme at the moment. You know, it just feels extreme and quite ludicrous in a way. But it's about, it's almost, it feels to me like it has to become extreme to illustrate and demonstrate the absurdity of what's going on, you know? Yeah, because if it all made logical sense, people wouldn't be sort of questioning, but more people are going, what?
Yes.
Because it's so extreme, and it almost feels like it's out of control, or that certain people are almost out of control. There's an air of desperation going on.
Yeah, and people people are speaking out.
They certainly are.
What they believe is the truth, whether it's right or wrong, but what they believe is
that's right.
And particularly medical people, medical professionals.
More and more.
Yeah, and so there's these health issues. So I'm thinking, now, didn't you mention last time that we've got the asteroid Hygeia?
Yes.
Around at the moment, which is to do with health.
That's right. That's exactly right. So there's a lot of action and activity in the sign of Virgo. And because on this full moon on the 22nd, the sun is at 29 degrees of Leo, the following day, the sun will leave Leo. So that's why these last degrees of a sign. So the sun at 29 of Leo, the full moon at 29 of Aquarius. So yes, the 29, so the sun is at 29 of Leo and the full moon is at 29 of Aquarius. So we've got these two things at 29 degrees. So the sun will, on the 23rd, move into Virgo, which is where Mercury, Mars, and Hygeia already are. So we're going to have, and when the sun leaves Leo, there'll be no other planets left remaining in the sign of Leo. So the focus and the energetic real focus will be largely from the 23rd in the morning. It actually moves into Virgo at 7:30 in the morning on the 23rd in the eastern states of Australia. So yes, so that's important shift, because Virgo is the primary sign of health and medical matters. Yes,
yeah, very much so, with Hygeia as well, and Mars activating that.
That's right.
Planet of action. Now, what about Mercury? What about, is it getting people to think about? Because Mercury.
Yes, so Mercury is the thinking mind, and it rules the sign of Virgo. Mercury rules two signs, Virgo and Gemini. So whenever a planet's in its own sign, it's at home, it's strong, it's healthy, it's able to fully function at its best. So Mercury in Virgo is a very effective and powerful analytical mind. So people with Mercury in Virgo, they are masterful analytically, have analytical minds, and can put them to work extremely well. Because Mars is traveling with Mercury now, so Mars, the energy of the planet of action and energy, it's almost like in the mental arena, there's this capacity for sort of precision, which is very Virgo. Mars, Mercury, precision, tremendous capacity for analytics. And so that's something that I'm noticing is going on. Like people are coming up with evidence, facts, information, like sharp, clear, precise. And
but people still don't want to see it.
Many, no, it just don't want to go there because to go there is extremely confronting.
Yes, very much.
You know, look, if I really look at that in myself, I can look back at times in my life where something's been going on that I've kind of gone, but I haven't been willing or ready to actually face it yet. You know, because to do so means you're going to have to make a different choice or take some kind of action. And so kind of let it slide and let it until eventually you have no choice but to face it. And I kind of get it in one way.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Because people are building, I've found that people are building realities and blame and I'm trying to think of the words, but in like with cards. That house of cards.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to come down.
It is going to come down. Yeah. There's an inevitability about that.
Yeah, it is. It's just going to come down. And because it's empty, it's false, it's untrue. And I'm talking about lots of different things, not just about
exactly
all that sort of stuff. Lots of things, our human rights are being challenged. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot across the board in so many areas, as you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely massive. Now, in addition to all of this, right now as we speak, and pretty much all this week and around the days of the full moon, the planet Uranus is stationary. Now, remember, the full moon is in Aquarius. The planet that rules or governs Aquarius is Uranus. And Uranus all this week is stationary, preparing to turn retrograde. It actually turned retrograde just before the full moon, technically. So when these slow-moving planets slow right down and become stationary to change direction, their presence is very, very strong. Their energy is very powerful. And so all this week and into the following week as well, the planet Uranus has a very powerful presence. And, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius while we're having the Aquarian full moon at 29 degrees. So, Uranus is, as we've said before, the energy of revolution, pushing back against oppressive forces of control. It represents the people, consciousness, our capacity to use our intelligence and awareness. It also represents principles like freedom and human rights, and so and of course, on a very basic but very real level, Uranus is also the planet of radical sudden change and upsets and things getting flipped on their head. And all of a sudden, like that, bam, something's happened and everything's changed.
Yeah, everything out of the blue.
Out of the blue. And in nature, it governs earthquakes, and if you had any experience of earthquakes in whatever way, you'll know that like that, all of a sudden, what seems stable and solid has just come crashing down. Yes. So that's Uranian energy, and it's an energy that can trigger shock waves, literally seismic shock waves under the ground. That's a metaphor and a half. But also, just seismic shock waves in our own personal life. And I'm seeing that around me. I'm noticing in my own work, a few people who are just going, bam, that's it. It's time to change. And then just, bam, they flip everything or uproot everything or go, I've been feeling this. It's been building and building. And all of a sudden, I'm doing it. I have to do it right now.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting how we feel that sense of things building? I think
that's right.
In physics, they call it tangential, where things are just going up and up and up slowly. Yeah. Not even slowly, but just rising up. That's and then it just snaps like that,
That's right.
that's the point. That's the,
That-
you know, it's something very Uranian to say is like the straw that broke the camel's back.
exactly.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, that is so Aquarian. You can say Aquarian, Uranian, whatever you want.
That's right.
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard a few people talking recently about lines have been drawn in the sand, you know, because Aquarius is very independent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get a sense of that, thinking of a toddler who says, "You're not the boss of me."
Yes. Yes.
Now magnify that 10 times or 100
That's right.
times, and that's the energy, that Uranian Aquarian energy.
Well, it's actually Leo and Aquarius, isn't it? Like, you're not my boss.
Yeah.
I am. You know, it's Leo, and it's also Aquarius. It's both of those energies. You can't tell me what to do. I'm the boss of me.
And again, you know, still with that Leo energy, which we covered last time, is the sovereignty.
That's right.
I am the sovereign of my body. You're not going to tell me what to do. There's that sort of thing.
Exactly.
But with lots of things, businesses are complaining, you know, we're going broke. You know, you've got to stop doing this. Then they're complaining and saying, well, it's not a complaint. It's a very real, truthful statement.
It is, totally.
Breaking the back of the country, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
On fundamentally a very false premise, actually. So that's right. So yeah, so it is huge. So there's an energy that's peaking, and I almost want to say like going to blow up in our faces. You know, it's got that kind of feeling. I mean, full moons are always high energy anyway, and often a lot in our personal world and in the world out there. Kind of really, you know, if you're paying attention, you'll notice this every lunar cycle. Full moon, you go, whoa, you know, look at that's happening. Look what's happening here. Look what's happening there. We might even see, you know, more earthquake energy or activation, you know, volcanoes, big weather events going on with this particular full moon. That's not uncommon. You know, people who specialize in astrological weather forecasting, and there are some who made lifelong study of this. It's very intricate, but the moon is key in astrological weather forecasting, absolute key. And so they track these moon cycles and rhythms and so on. So yeah, so that can be, and that's just a beautiful metaphor too, you know, massive weather events or earth movements is a metaphor for what we're experiencing in our human life, individually and collectively.
Yeah. So that's Moon in Aquarius and
Uranus stationary turning retrograde.
Yes.
And of course he'll be retrograde then until the middle of January. So, you know, he's going to be for the rest of the year. From our perspective on Earth, looking at the sky, appearing to have been going forwards and then moves back. It doesn't move back far because there's these, you know, Uranus moves slowly, but, and it's normal. This happens every year. It's not that it's unusual, but it's just I always pay attention when these planets are around that stationary time and changing direction, either to go retrograde or to go forward again. You'll notice, you can feel that vibe is really in the atmosphere.
Yeah. So that's 5 months of that light.
That's right.
Or it's shining light onto different areas
that's right.
And on the world stage.
That's right. And so in January, when it moves forward again, there's this sense of, okay, now we're ready to get on with the next piece because we've done all of this work here. There's always like deeper work going on when planets are retrograde. And currently, all of the outer planets, and I'm including Uranus now, because by the time people listen to this, Uranus will actually be retrograde. In fact, I think it's retrograde today as we're actually talking. So it's all the outer planets, Chiron, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are all retrograde. Now that happens. That, you know, last year we had a period when there were 7 planets retrograde because 2 of the faster moving inner planets were there as well. So that happens, and people will often have quite a number of retrograde planets in their chart. That's not an unusual event. But astrologically, it's just worth being aware of that because it has an energetic impact on us,
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and a lot of what I'm seeing around that is a lot of people rooting around in the past to get information and evidence and to sort of gather background information that has its roots in the past. That's a very retrograde energy to bring it into the present,
Yes.
So there's a bigger context for everything.
Yes, and I think a really classic example of that is I've seen some media, it's probably citizen media, where they've said, they've got a clip of, say, the Prime Minister saying something in 2020, this will never happen. And then in 2021, this is happening.
That's right.
So they've gone back and they're looking in the past for,
that's right.
They made promises and they were broken. They made promises. And
that's right. And the cynical amongst us might say, well, did he have a change of heart because circumstances change, or was he lying straight from the beginning? That's right. I mean, I don't know that there's too many people left who still have much faith in politicians.
No. So after the 23rd, what's happening after that?
Okay, so we have the sun moves into Libra on the 30th. And so then there's a few days where there's no kind of major changes, planets are just moving and doing their thing. There's no kind of major things. On the 30th, the planet Mercury actually leaves Virgo. So Mercury's only in Virgo for about 3 and a bit weeks.
Okay.
It leaves Virgo and moves into the sign of Libra. Now, Venus is already in Libra. Venus just a couple of days ago left Virgo and went into Libra. So, pardon me. So let's talk about Libra. So Libra is one of the 3 air signs. So it relates to the mind, the mental plane, and also human relationships. So this is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius are about the mental plane and human dynamics and relating and knowledge and information and so on. So Libra is primarily the sign that's all about, like at its core, it's about equilibrium, balance and harmony. But its focus is largely on harmony in human relating. In human relationship. Like if you know any Librans, honestly, I have met Librans who are natural matchmakers. Like they just love to hook people up and match people up. Oh my God, I've got just the right man for you, or the right woman for you. You two, you have to meet. And they'll arrange the meeting. They'll have a dinner party because they just have to get these people together. That's a Libran impulse.
Yes.
That's right. So maybe you're thinking, I mean, I've come across that, and a friend of mine who's a Libran, I haven't seen her in years, but I remember her telling me that a friend of hers who's also a Libran hooked her up with the man who became her husband. Like they are like a dating agency unto themselves almost, because it's just natural in Libra.
Yeah. I'm also thinking my grandmother, she was a Libran, mad keen gardener all her life.
Yeah.
And we can get onto that. But she would say things like, well, I'm going to stick my neck out and I'm going to say something to try and bring people together.
Yes.
They don't like rough waters. They like them smooth and calm.
That's right.
And glassy and reflective and pretty. And,
I know. They really are very uncomfortable with discord and disharmony, particularly in relationship, but also in the environment as well. Yeah. And so they are natural negotiators, therapists, especially in relationship counseling. Like that's just like a natural fit for someone with any strong Libran energy. It doesn't have to be the sun necessarily, but you'll also find them in anything to do with the beautification of life. Feng Shui practitioners, in fashion, hairdressing, makeup. And I'm not being trivial when I say that. Like it's for real. There's a natural urge to want to make things beautiful. God, there's a lot of ugliness in the world. It's not a bad thing at all.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that grandmother of mine, she was forever painting inside the house, rearranging energy.
That's right.
Furniture. I mean, rearranging energy. Furniture. Well, she was doing that too when she
Yes.
furniture.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they have a very acute sense of harmony. Even, you walk into a Libran's house and there is this sense, because they're very acutely aware when things are not in harmony and they have to change it. So Venus is now just recently gone into Libra, and Venus is one of the ruling planets, is the ruling planet of Libra. Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So Librans are Venusian, and Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. So love and relationship and beauty. Like an artist may not be a Libran, but the art gallery owner probably is. So Venus loves being in Libra. So, and I wrote a post on Facebook about this a couple of days ago, and as I was kind of feeling it as I was writing, I thought, this is a time, there's a lot of discord and disharmony in the community. All kinds of forces are largely kind of creating that, this sense of sides and this kind of battle between opposing forces. But when Venus is in Libra, it's an opportunity for us to consider where we might have had rifts in relationships due to choices people are being confronted with. And it is causing rifts. We all know people who've got big rifts going on in their friends, relationships, their family, between husbands and wives, a lot of arguing and people saying, well, that's it, I'm just never speaking to her again, with their mother or, whatever. So this is an opportunity where there may be the possibility of people putting out the olive branch or just putting a bit of effort into maintaining a connection and a relationship without even necessarily getting into those very controversial issues. If people have made a choice, they've made a choice. Lots of other things we can talk about. Do we have to shatter the entire relationship?
Yes, yeah.
So it's just those issues, I think, are really to the fore for these 4 weeks or so while Venus goes through Libra, for us each to consider that in our own lives. Who have we disconnected from that actually it might be someone we really love and have a really deep connection with, and we've kind of energetically disengaged because they don't agree with what we feel. Maybe I think it's a good time for us to all consider those things. And
I think too it depends on how people have disengaged.
Yes,
there's a lot of Mars energy around, a lot of anger and so maybe Libra can it calm and soothe some of that. And I think Libra is also, it's a good sign for mediators and diplomats too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Negotiating, sitting down and having an actual conversation, listening to the other person instead of steamrolling over the top of them with our own opinion.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, all we humans are opinionated, which is fine. I mean, we have a right to have opinions about things, but yeah, sometimes we can go to war on opinions. But so Venus in Libra is very much the peacemaker energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's make peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's hope some people do.
Yeah. So it's I think it's really helpful at this time because so much is going on and it's quite volatile out there and can be volatile in here as well, because people are getting very stressed and very anxious because things are escalating and fast.
Well, so this is where I'm thinking about making peace within ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
That masculine and feminine energy within us, making peace with that.
That's right. I agree with that. Like where are we feeling that discord and disharmony, and how can we bring more balance and harmony into our experience on a daily basis?
Without having to walk around with an upturned fishbowl on your head and living in a bubble.
That's right. That's right. And Libra says, don't live in a bubble, connect.
Yeah.
Connect. Talk to people. Go and talk to your neighbours. Like reach out to friends you haven't seen in ages.
Exactly.
Arrange to have coffee with a friend. Like that's Libra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, so Venus is very happily in Libra, helping us to connect with our hearts and each other and just enjoy each other's company. And so on the 30th, Mercury moves into Libra as well, just adding, so Mercury is the communicator planet. Like, let's talk to each other. Let's talk to our friends. Let's have conversations where hopefully we can smooth some of these troubled waters and actually have a reasonable discussion.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If people listen to each other, that's the thing, isn't it? If people have a willingness to be open and listen to each other rather than jumping on their own high horse first. It's the minute they hear someone disagree with them.
That's right. And I think one of the errors we often make, we humans, is we're trying to convince the other person that they're wrong and I'm right. But in Libra, it's not so much that. It's just listening and having a conversation, hearing the other, expressing your own point of view, and maybe each person will have a kind of a shift of perspective, not necessarily change their fundamental position, but just a
little peek.
Yeah, a peek and go, oh, I understand a bit more now where you're coming from. Instead of, no, you're just completely wrong.
Yes, yes.
It's a shift, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was having a conversation with someone this morning who was saying, oh, there's too many anti-vaxxers in Australia. I said, actually, people, what you don't realize is a lot of people who might be called anti-vaxxers, and this is before the pandemic came along, are actually parents of children who've had adverse reactions to vaccines.
It's true.
So it's not they're not just being, pig-headed about this. They're really concerned. And so and it was just like a slight shift in the other person's perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So can we have those conversations of engagement where we share and listen, and because I actually quite like that. As I said, I know I can be opinionated, but I also do like to try and understand where someone else is coming from. I'm kind of curious about that. It helps me, because sometimes I go, I don't get it, and I actually want to. So yeah. So this is I think this is a really helpful movement of these two planets into the sign of Libra. And of course, then when the sun leaves Virgo in 4 weeks, it will go into Libra as well. So, and for some people, look, it can get down to basic stuff like you might meet a new partner, Libra, because you're out there connecting and engaging with people more. And of course, for those parts of Australia that are going through pretty extreme restrictions.
Oh, yeah.
That's not so easy.
Yeah.
But there's the phone, there's the internet, to reach out and connect. But yeah, normally when planets are going through Libra around this time of year, we're all out socializing, meeting our friends, getting together. It's a little different at the moment, but we can still connect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the 3rd, so we're kind of moving towards the next new moon. On the 3rd of September, I can't believe I'm saying September.
I know.
Wow. On the 3rd of September, Mars, still moving through Virgo, but sort of moving by then towards the later degrees of Virgo, will make an opposition to Neptune in Pisces. Now, these fast-moving planets will often make these, quick contacts to these slower-moving outer planets. But I'm noting this one because around that week, around the 3rd is when it's exact, Mars in Virgo, precision, work, focus, efficiency, getting on with it. Opposite Neptune in Pisces, like, oh, God, I can't really be bothered. Do I really have to? I just want to go and sit on the beach and gaze out to sea, or I just want to lie in bed and listen to nice music or read my book, or, you know, they're very different energies. And what often happens when Mars makes a strong contact with Neptune, all that Mars energy of, you know, suddenly just goes, where did my drive go? Like, I don't want to do anything. And then we can feel really kind of confused and a bit bewildered.
Mm, mm. And that's where we have these periods in our life where we just don't feel motivated to do something that we've been doing for quite a while. We go,
That's right.
I don't feel like doing that now.
I know, where did my mojo go? What happened? It's just kind of vanished, or it's evaporated.
Well, there's some Virgos are going to get the rug pulled out from underneath them.
So I just would like to point that one out, because often this happens, you know, we're going through a few weeks, maybe already, and all of a sudden somehow everything shifts and we're in a different mode. And I think it's really, I know it's helpful for me anyway, if that happens and I have a quick check at what's going on. Oh God, no wonder. And when I realize what's going on with the planets, it helps me to go, oh, well, stop trying.
Yes,
Stop fighting it, you know, just stop doing what you're doing and go and chill and relax and do what you actually feel like doing right now, instead of trying to push against the flow.
I'm thinking by the 3rd of September, all the tax agents are going to be worn out. So that's
true.
Come to that brick wall and say, I can't do anymore.
I can't do anymore. That's right. Because, you know, with Mars in, here's something, with Mars in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces, if we keep pushing against that energy that just says, okay, it's time to take a break here a bit, we can overstress ourselves and be a bit more vulnerable to getting sick. And I mean, just like, you know, having a few days where we just go, oh God, I've got an awful cold, or my allergies are up, or, you know, I'm not necessarily pointing to anything dire, but we're just a bit more vulnerable is the point in the body. And so our resistance is a bit lower. So it is really wise to understand that and perhaps factor in a bit of downtime and a bit of extra rest, and, you know, to not be quite so driven, because Mars and Virgo can be pretty driven, but I think we need to make allowances around the 3rd for those few days where we see if we can factor in a break.
So just to remind people about Virgo, like people who are doctors and dentists, and accountants, police or detectives,
herbalists and yoga teachers,
who's dealing with facts. I'm just trying to deal with the factual side of it at the moment. Anyone who's got to deal with the nitty-gritty details, of anything.
Yes.
And, you know, let's face it, police, it's the law, you know, they've got to follow the law and all this sort of stuff. They've got to follow this law and that law. And same with dentists. I mean, they're really engineers for the mouth, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, and doctors, of course, they've got to do things with precision, and lots of other people, you know, all sorts of people.
That's right.
Yeah, and then you've got the side too. Yeah,
that's right. That is Virgo. It's all things medical and health, but it's also any activity where we're having to be very focused and clear and precise and detailed. So absolutely, accountants, people who work with numbers and figures are very good at that sort of thing. Office managers. What's that?
Could be a potter.
Yes.
Or an artist.
Craftspeople. Virgo is very specifically to do with craft, you know, weaving, hands-on, potting, earth, clay.
Yep. Because it's an earth sign, so it's very, very hands-on.
Very, very hands-on, and creating a beautiful garden, growing herbs, culinary and medicinal, you know, like it's often in the garden of a Virgo, you'll often see they're growing vegetables and herbs and things like that, and pretty flowers, and it'll be quite well designed and specific.
Yes, I think when you look at something that's very precise, had a hand in it, I think.
That's exactly right.
What about architects?
That's a bit more Capricorn.
Oh, yeah, okay, because it's building
and structure.
Yes, that's right.
Engineers, architects is very Capricorn largely.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But there absolutely could be some Virgo, because absolutely they've got to be precise.
Yeah.
with their calculations, for sure. Like a drafts person who actually draws up plans. Absolute precision is required in that work. Can't afford to make a tiny mistake or the whole thing's out of alignment.
Civil engineers, all sorts of people.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the 3rd of September.
And that brings us up then to the new moon on the 7th, right, which will be at 14 degrees of Virgo because, you know, the sun left Leo the day after the full moon, and 2 weeks later, it's smack in the middle of the sign of Virgo at 14 degrees. And the moon will have reached that degree as well, coming in quickly behind the sun. So we'll be well and truly in the energy of Virgo, which, of course, is a sign of health. So if we relate that back to what's going on in the public arena, you know, all these health issues are going to be like fully, I mean, talk about a main topic that's been going on for the last 18 months, issues around health. Well, it's not even health, it's more like medical matters. You know, health is a kind of a different thing in a way. Medical matters. I mean, look at how much what's that word? I won't even try and say it because I won't get it right. You know, all the censorship around natural health and alternative health and remedies that can actually address some of these situations that are being completely forbidden. You know, and banned. So there's all of those kind of issues that come up in, because Virgo as an earth sign is mainly focused on natural health, really. So that's why you'll see a lot of people working in natural health arenas usually have a very strong emphasis in the sign of Virgo. It's connection to nature and the earth, you know, the earth providing everything we need, food, medicines, remedies, and so on.
Being an earth sign, it would represent material reality, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've got this dose of material reality with consciousness with Aquarius, you know, which brings
I know.
Together.
Yeah, that's right. And Aquarius, and they're very different energetically because Aquarius is such big picture, cosmic in nature. Virgo. And Virgo's right down, you know, seeing, it's that T.S. Eliot poem, you know, seeing the universe in a grain of sand. Just kind of, it's a very Aquarius Virgo paradox. It's also real, you know, the universe does exist in a grain of sand.
Fascinating as always. We'll talk more about that when we get together.
We absolutely will. That's right. Yeah.
Any last bits and pieces?
No, that's the main thing. I think just that reference back to Uranus, the fact that it's making these 3 big squares to Saturn this year. The last one will be right at the end of the year in the last week of December. And there's somehow the energy of those 3 squares, which are the main theme for the year, is quite present with us right now because of this Aquarian full moon and Uranus being stationary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple more years to go of all of this. So there you go.
We do.
And then we have to clean up the scraps that are left behind.
We do. There's going to be a lot to do afterwards. A lot.
It's like I can't say world. Well, it is, but it's not even cultural. It's social devastation.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's social devastation through our whole social lives, societies, and it's like we've been hit with this massive wave of energy that's come in, and once that leaves, there's going to, you know, some people think we're all going to go, well, that's over now, but actually no, we've got to do the cleanup work after.
There will be an aftermath to this. It's huge because this is fun. What is this is fundamentally about is evolution, and we're in this rapid, accelerated process of evolution right now, and everybody's in it. You know, our Polly's love to say we're all in this together, which is complete BS, actually. But on an energetic level, we are all in this together. We are all participating in this, in whatever our role is.
Yeah.
We, you know, on that level, it's true, but on a human social level, it's
we're all in that ocean of energy.
That's right.
Yeah, and everything.
Right. And we are literally going through the eye of a needle and out of it. You know, and in that, like, so we're all making big choices, and everybody's being confronted with big choices, not just about the obvious, but about so many things. You know, it's like a time of reckoning for all humanity and every individual. This is it.
And I was having a conversation actually with someone just about Australia, and I said that, you know, for a long time, talking about the Aquarian energy and the freedom and our human rights and all that, for a very long time, Australians have taken for granted their freedom. And a lot of the immigrants who come to this country have come from countries who've been through this sort of stuff before.
I have.
I was having this chat to someone locally, one of the retailers, and he was saying that, one of the pharmacists, and he was saying that the country I come from, we've been through this. We recognise that it's quite familiar, you know.
Yes.
So Australians today, and I'm not talking about immigrants who've come here, but those of us who've had generations that have lived here.
That's right.
Been through this, except for the war, right?
Yes.
But that wasn't actually here.
It wasn't on our land, that's right, on our doorstep. It's on our doorstep.
Yeah, so now it's like everyone has a turn, and now it's Australia's turn.
That's right.
To just talking about us to fight for our freedoms, and therefore then appreciate it and value it into the future.
That's right. But unfortunately, there's still many who are still, although surely that's got to change soon because of the way things are going, who still are saying things like, oh no, that will never happen here.
I know.
Because they literally cannot imagine that could ever happen here, because it's not happened here before, and we've lived such a good life for so long. Yeah. And I kind of get it. Like, it is hard for many to conceive, but it's getting a bit to the point now where, well, I had a conversation with someone I know very, very well recently, about the passports. Oh no, it'll never get to that. And I'm saying, well, it's actually already happening.
Yeah, it's on our doorstep. Yeah.
It's already happening. And that comment, like, oh no, that will never happen here. It will never get to that. It demonstrated that very clearly to me. And this is a beautiful, intelligent woman that I know very well, just finding it impossible to believe that could actually happen in this country.
There's a cognitive dissonance going on, isn't there? Yeah, very interesting times. And we will talk more about that next time.
We shall. The story continues.
As we chase the star trails through the ancient areas.
We do.
All right, folks. Well, it's been great to be with you. And thank you once again, Babula, for all your
Thank you, Cheryl.
sharing that with us. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.